Welcome to Ideas Are Cheap, the podcast where we believe that real impact comes from making ideas happen. Hosted by yours truly, John Rosopoulos. It's a PowerPoint-free zone, showcasing Australian technology companies and the products and services driving real change. We speak with the people who are doing the hard work of solving real problems and delivering value and impact.
So hi Billy, thanks for coming along and being my first virtual guest on my Ideas Are Cheap podcast. So as I said to you earlier, we're basically looking for hardworking people that are doing real things and trying to learn from you about what your experiences are and the challenges you're trying to overcome for yourself and for your clients. So if you don't mind, if you could please just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Kavira and how it came to be and what the problem you were trying to solve when you started it, perhaps.
Yeah, awesome. Didn't know I was the first guest, so thanks for having me.
Oh, first virtual? But yes, thank you.
First virtual guest? Okay, great. So I'm the founder and MD of Kavira IT. So we are two parts under one brand. So we do cybersecurity, governance, risk, and compliance. And then we also have a modernization IT provider business as well. So that'll make sense after I explain why we do what we do, why we have two what seem to be very disparate offerings, but in the same business or areas of expertise. I'm also the founder of Almost IT Heroes, which is a support group for people that are not CTOs that end up becoming CTOs, despite probably being hired as CFOs and COOs. So I like to think I'm pretty business outcome focused and technical focused. But back to Kavira IT. So the reason why I started Kavira IT is I had a background primarily in sort of commercial roles in early stage cyber consultancies and IT providers. I was in pen testing, enterprise identity consulting, Microsoft integrations, those kind of businesses. And I found that the industry is very self-interested and that customers are very ignorant. So my idea was to create an IT provider that was accountable to something other than themselves. If you don't know the IT industry, there's no certification, no regulation, nothing, no legislation. So anyone can pick up a laptop and be like, I'm an IT and cybersecurity professional, and you can't tell me I'm not. So the idea was, well, let's benchmark our IT provider to frameworks. And if people can't understand those frameworks, we'll come in and do virtual CISO arrangements, governance, risk, and compliance arrangements, and educate the board on what IT or cyber looks like and how to implement that. And then sometimes they use us as their IT provider or vice versa. But that's kind of the why of what we're doing and why we're doing it. So yeah,
that's obviously a pretty big gap there. You're right. There's not like a builder's license that you need. I know how to do. I've read the building code. I understand. Here's some evidence. Blah blah blah. You can just turn on a laptop basically and get going. If I can get you to explain, like, what are the boring things for interesting people? I like that tagline you had. You obviously don't think it's boring, right? You started a business for it. It's like that. You think the problem is they think it's boring. It's just ignored and it's just out of their minds. Like, I'll just outsource.
I'm very curiosity driven, so I'm naturally drawn to businesses that I don't understand very well. I understand the technology, but I don't, we work with IoT companies, SaaS companies, non-for-profits, all these kind of businesses that maybe don't fit in industry verticals that clearly, but like unique in the way that they do things or who they do it for. So that was kind of interesting people. That was a part of that equation of our tagline, but the boring things as well. For a lot of these businesses, they are doing something really interesting or game-changing or benefiting society in the case of non-for-profits, but they really struggle with basic IT or cybersecurity or compliance issues. So, you take a SaaS company, they want to enter the US market, they've done well in Australia, they need to go get SOC 2 compliant. They're used to building product and flying to conferences and raising millions in money and building sales teams. They're not compliance people. It's just not how their brain thinks. So to them, obviously very boring. And I would say to most people in the market, compliance is boring. And then even with taking that example as well is, the thought of rolling out mobile device management, workforce security, SSO, running a help desk, ticketing system, still, again, not why most people go and start an IT career, let alone starting like some cool new sexy software that's going to change the world.
Yeah.
They just it's boring. There's nothing wrong with saying it. We really like it, and it's something that really gets us out of bed in the morning. But it's not to say that it's for everybody, and that it's like you're hugging your young child and putting them to bed, and then you're like, oh, I hope in 20 years you become an EUC engineer, and then maybe a compliance expert in some obscure framework for some industry.
Yeah, it's almost like I just like stare at my daughter. I'm like, if you only knew what you could do. It's like it just
Yeah,
all sounds
if
boring.
only you knew how to deploy security policies to a Mac
Yes.
OS device,
Yeah.
you'd change the world.
I don't think you can force it because were you always interested in the IT stuff? Because I tried to give my daughter a computer to do like was at free code camp, and she's like got bored after like the fourth module or something. So like, what attracted you to that? The cyberspace? Were you in a different spot before and you come into it later in life, or?
No, I came in later. Like, well, okay, when I was a kid, I was very interested in computers, gaming, all those kind of things. And then my parents said there's no hope in that, no future in that. So
Yeah.
um, I ended up studying economics and politics, and then being a ski bum for a large part of my 20s. So I didn't do the direct path, but I've always been interested in people. So I used to work in oil rigs, and
Oh wow.
did some time in oil rigs and nightclubs, bars, farming, physical things, scaffolding, pretty much anything where I got to talk to people, learn about things, and I'd get bored pretty quick. So I think there was probably a deep down technology person in me that like does get bored pretty quick with things. So I'm always sort of, I call it scarecrowing, trying to chase the shiny thing that
Yeah.
I can learn about, consume that as much as possible, then learn on to go and learn something else. But the one consistency, I guess, as well, being consistent with that is people. They're always changing and adapting. Every person is different, so there's always a different approach or way to understand them, and then obviously being in services, trying to help them get what they need.
I'm a fairly introverted person generally, even though I'm like a loudmouth. But it always comes like it's just people. Always, it's always if there's a problem with people, anything's a problem. With people, even if it's the technology stuff, it's like some person didn't do something right. To tie it back to that, so what's like, what's the constant constraint you're up against when like speaking with your clients, trying to sell them like what they need to do here, right? You're not like a snake oil salesman trying to sell something in the back alley, right? You have to do. People have to do these things. You have to protect your business. Potentially, you could like destroy your business. It's not recoverable. So what's that? What's the constant theme that you're encountering, trying to overcome and get them to understand what they should be doing? That's important for them to do.
Well, like cash is king with everything, right? It's a it's very challenging. There's actually on that whiteboard behind me. There's actually a diagram that I've made a lot prettier than that. But like every business has a cybersecurity arc, right, of maturity, and obviously the more money you have, the more you can increase that maturity. But
Okay.
it's relevant to the risk, right? Like, so a bank spends, I'm sure NAB spends 500 million euro plus on their cyber program, but they've got the risk, right? So, but then again, you go down to a small business, not to say there's no risk for them, but they're budget constrained. So, how can you get them as much value as possible without hindering the business? So, it's kind of trying to like help them understand that like a cyber program can become a business improvement program. So like at a basic level, it's like, are your devices enrolled? Do you have good domain DNS hygiene and management? Do you have basic email security? Are those securities tied to a basic policy like the Essential 8 or a framework like the Essential 8? Do you have user education? Okay, we've ticked a bunch of boxes there, but we've also coincidentally now all our devices are working and effectively healthy. We're not losing them when staff leave because we're managing them. We can turn them off so the staff are forced to send them back. Otherwise, they're stealing. There's all these kind of like small business outcomes that really help at an SMB level. Um, so, but the biggest challenge is always helping them understand that. And
Mm-hmm.
then we're all emotional too. So business owners or decision makers in businesses that are small or medium will make knee-jerk decisions based on what's easy. So, there's a problem of like educating. Then there's also the problem of the market where it's like, well, buy my blinky box or buy my expensive flashy thing. and all your problems will go away. The reality is that's never the case ever. There's no such thing as a silver bullet in technology. Like, you want to get more sales, it's like just buy lead gen. If you want great HR, just buy XYZ platform. And it's like, yeah, but you need to implement the platform. You need to work on it. You need to make it actually realize value. And that's exactly the same for services. Is like, you might nurture a customer and educate them for a long time, and then they just go and buy a tool, and then you're like, that tool doesn't work. You don't have the skill set. It's not implemented. You don't have these baselines. So even though the tool's doing its job, you can just walk around it. It's like you put a $10,000 steel fence, but a gate, but the fence is made of styrofoam. So everyone just walks
Yeah,
around the gate.
that,
The gate, you know.
that's a great analogy. I've actually never heard that from like the cyber program could be a business improvement program. Like
Hmm.
that's fantastic. It's so obvious now that you said it. It's like some people don't know where to start. It's like, why don't you just start with the foundation, make sure everything is hunky dory and you're doing the basics brilliantly, and then that will expose you to all these other IT offerings and tools and stuff you could potentially use later down the track. And that way you set up at the beginning, you've got a good foundation to add in all these other things and stuff on top, and you're educated to know what you should look for. That's really cool. I want to remember
Yeah.
that. Thank you. So on that, the way from my experience, it's in the IT industry, even the people involved aren't really clear on what's required around the cyber and how to run a proper IT shop, so to speak. Like, have you found that either for yourself and for the clients you serve, trying to find that talent that actually understands is hard? Like, I'd assume yes, but you tell me if I'm wrong. Like, it's almost like looking for unicorns, right? Those people aren't just floating around on the job market all the time. Is that a constraint you found?
Yes and no. So we're a small team, but we've got a lead auditor who's audited banks. He audited the Singaporean election system. He's a gun,
Oh wow.
and he does all our cybersecurity, like virtual CISO GRC work. He isn't a board meeting CISO, so we have another CISO for that who comes in when we need to sit in the board and do politics and all those things.
Mhm.
Um, we also have another guy who's a cloud infrastructure engineer who's got 25 years experience, done almost every private school from Sydney down to Tasmania, MDM projects, everything. And the reason why I'm sort of showboating us a little bit, but it's about what motivates these people, right? So both of them want to be at home with their kids. They both want to be excited in something interesting. They also want to do interesting projects, and they also want to do it ethically. So they can go and work somewhere else and they can get paid huge amounts of money, but they won't have their own independence. They'll be forced to sell things that they don't agree with. They'll be forced to do projects that they think are ridiculous.
Mhm.
So they're motivated to be with us. And also the new generation of kids, like our lead engineer is only 26. He's already got 8 or 9 years experience in
No well.
MSP land, but he does everything in code. He builds his own apps. He builds his own integrations. He's incredible. Um, whereas I've experienced a lot of MSPs that really kind of like squash that kind of innovation. They like do the tickets and shut up and go home.
Mhm.
Whereas we're always trying to find ways to have less tickets, because we feel like our value to the customer is like how we advise them, how we drive their business forward, not that we justify our existence by creating more tickets. So I think, much like printing is going the way of the dodo, I think the traditional like IT support only type business will go the way of the dodo, because you do need to. It's hard to. You can find plenty of guys that will just sit there and set up networks all day, but that solution is becoming antiquated as well. So it's like, finding people that are genuinely interested in customers and learning and a bit more extroverted is easy, but you do have to spend the time training them and getting them up to scratch, but then also letting them do that. Maybe not in the way that you think is the conventional way.
I've always found it best when I've recruited people that you recruit for like potential, because trying to find that unicorn, if you got someone that's motivated and interested, it's like way easier. They'll just need like a rubber band, like they just extend themselves ready to go, right? just given that space to explore, and, within risk tolerances, etc. That's way. I personally, it's way easier, right? Someone that's motivated, like I tell them, the bar's way lower than you think. People just want to come in and some people just want to do ticket flicking. It's just like, yeah, but
Yeah, there's nothing like we definitely will be hiring people that just want to go there and do tickets, but we'll be like, cool, well, you want to get paid X, Y, Z. We're not going to ride you. We're not going to be like blame you if you get efficient at your job. It's if you want to go on lunch break, you want to pick your kids up from school, like that's fine. Just make sure you coordinate with the other guy that's doing tickets so that there's at least one of you on the phones when it happens.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So I don't know. I think it's about finding what motivates people, but also making it a bit more fun and interesting. Yeah, like we don't pay the highest wages. We're not even close. We can't afford that in being a relatively new business, but people seem to want to work for us. But also, a lot of, especially in MSP land, like there's a lot of old businesses there, 20, 30 years old. Everyone's still trying to like get the customer to pay for improvements. I think that would be incredibly frustrating as a tech to just do the same work on repeat, knowing that you can change it, but no one will let you do it.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to pay for it. Whereas we're an outcome-based model, so we don't do everything for free, but like we'll fully automate their MDMs, we'll fully automate their like user processes and systems because it's a huge time suck for us. You can almost go in and just look at the tickets and be like, cool, I already knocked this down by 40% in a week just by doing a bunch of projects that most other guys would be charging tens of thousands of dollars for.
Oh wow.
And yeah, that I would love tens of thousands of dollars. That would be great. I've got personal pressures and cost pressures like everybody, but if we knock that ticket count down, then all of a sudden we're getting paid every month, but we're not doing that kind of repetitive work. The techs are happy, throw a challenge out to them and be like, who can come up with the coolest, flashiest report? And then like they're all coming up with all these like weird ones that obviously no customer would ever want to look at, but it's kind of fun.
Well, what are the common mistakes, oversights, or poor practices you most often see from a cyber or ops perspective?
I think this is a common one from enterprise all the way down to a small business, including mine. I actually did my monthly check yesterday, but like SaaS spend. This is a cyber issue. This is an ops issue, right? Like we're a small business. I found $600 of just subs yesterday, and that $600 is like I can go now buy a bookkeeper, ironically, to go fix these issues for me regularly, and still save $300. So like, but when I was in identity consulting at enterprise, it's ridiculous how many like just everyone's like just spray and pray with like buying tools and not understanding feature sets, and there's this whole like decision making procurement kind of issue that happens in small business, big business, but like I won't go into that. But like just it's really risky to have all these things everywhere because you don't know who has access to it, who has admin. If someone leaves, does that data just stay with that vendor? It's just a whole bunch of issues around data access and privacy around like buying subscriptions and not knowing where they are and everything. But then you've also got the cost issue of like we have 12 staff, but we have 15 Slack licenses. Cool. We are donating $60 a month to Slack. You compound that by 10, it starts getting the hundreds and thousands. And when you're complaining your IT provider's too expensive or something, but you're also donating $2,000 to Silicon Valley every month, it's a bit condescending, right? So like, yeah, the answer to fix that is like either do it, get your IT company to do that and put it in scope, which most of them don't actually do because they never thought of it. Or there are tools that will monitor it and tell you like they'll reconcile like your Active Directory or whatever with your billing system, so then they can be like, yeah, look, no one's logged into this tool in 6 months, but you're still paying for it. There's heaps of them around. Nathan McKinnon from Subble, I like their UX; it's kind of cool, but there's a million of them around. That's one very common issue. Even I think we went to one customer and said by the time we were done with all their lost devices that weren't enrolled in the corporate network and their SaaS, they'd probably made a profit on us of like 30 grand for the year.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of an easy win. But yeah, I think that's a very common thing. Even me running an IT business, I cleaned out some money
So you,
yesterday.
so you find even with people that are like running small businesses can still lose track, like they don't know what they've got on their book,
Yeah,
like it
100%.
easily spins out. Oh wow, okay.
That identity piece is always missed from a security point of view, but also from just an operations point of view. Like it's not, it's pretty easy to get one of those tools for $50 a month and it'll tell you who's been logging into your SSO'd apps. Obviously, the problem is people are now, those apps are all charging premium for SSO, but you can also probably turn around to your IT provider and be like, can you manage this for us? Um, well, like we do for all our clients, but also part of the problem is most clients don't know what they have.
Yeah.
So, like, can we get a list of your applications? And they say, yeah, if they're professional services, they're like, here's our prac management tool. Like, cool, but if you've got a CRM, oh, I'll go ask Kathy. And it's like, what do you do for this? And oh, well, he left, but I think we do have something. And so, like, it becomes this whole kind of like business analysis piece of like, where is all your stuff and
Everyone's got
who
access to
owns
the
it?
company credit card. It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Sam
yeah.
did it in June, I think, and now he's on annual
Yeah,
leave. Fantastic.
and like staff signing up for AI modules without permission and then integrating them into SharePoint, and
I,
it's just wild. It's wild. It's pretty wild, wild west in terms of like that kind of management at the moment.
Yeah, because they wouldn't have those controls at the small. They wouldn't even think to know that, like, hey, your employee can just dump the entire SharePoint and Copilot or ChatGPT.
Well, and it depends on the culture of those businesses too. Like the owner's like, no, we're not delegating our work to a machine. We're doing it, so they don't pay for ChatGPT. So the staff go and pay for it themselves, and
Yeah,
then now
it's on their
customer
purse.
data is inputted into a tool where you're not the admin.
Yeah,
Um, Maybe they're on a free tier, so now the privacy policy is pretty much blown out the window. All that data is getting siphoned and you know, yeah, getting sold. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of minefields there, and that's not unique to SMBs. That's the whole business, from a two-person business to a 20,000
yeah. I
major
can't.
enterprise.
Yeah, I can't relate to that. Working in government for a very long time, and I got annoyed the other day because I think they've done some update, and now my Bluetooth keyboard refuses to connect to it, even though I did work before. And like I can't even do Bluetooth connection to a mouse. So, so a little like I'm dumping information onto Copilot or something. That's crazy. The next question I have is on that same theme because people confuse as many the like where to start. Is there where would you recommend someone to start? Like, I'm going to go on Google. What should I look up? Was it a government website? Is it some private thing? Like, what's some like wiki? Like, where should if they got no idea, where should they start?
uh, Selfish plug here. Join Almost IT Heroes, because that's
Yep,
the whole point of setting that group up.
awesome. Yep,
Is I literally launched it last week. There's nothing there yet. There's just that we're going to start with a webinar and go from there. But we'll set up a resources library. Like, here's your checklist on. Ask your IT provider if you have these things. If you don't, ask them if they can do it. Here's how much it should cost. Then you can go do it. If they don't do those things, time to change. Then there'll be a guide on how to change IT provider and what to look for.
yep,
Um, and then, but you know, that kind of grey, how do you pick an IT provider is really hard. How do you hold them accountable is harder again. But you know, we all, not all of us, but a lot of people like will engage an auditor to come in and check their books to make sure their accountant is accountable. It's just the due diligence process. So, um, you know, there's no harm in going every year and going to market and seeing, hey, can you just have a review, sign it, get an NDA, get a review of your Microsoft environment, your Google environment, be like, am I secure? Is my IT provider doing the things they should? It's a normal thing to do. That you would do with your books. So why wouldn't you do with your IT environment? In terms of like policies or frameworks to follow, the government's Essential 8 is okay. It's a great place to start. It is not the be all and end all that it's plugged as.
hmm
I detest people that say I'm Essential 8 and I'm done. But a lot of IT providers sell that because they can deliver that. They don't talk about governance, incident response planning, um, things like SaaS management is not covered in Essential 8. So all those kind of things are challenging, but at least get your baseline, and then see what else you can cover. There's another framework out there that's getting some good traction called CyberCert. So
hmm
they have a bronze, silver, gold, diamond, platinum. It goes, I think it's 5 or 6 different tiers. It's essentially ISO Light, ISO 27001 Light. It's got some good things. It's got some things that are probably a bit irrelevant for a lot of modern businesses. And then there's also some things they're missing. Every framework has its holes, but that's a great place because you can go get the bronze for about $300 and you've done something. Then you go, cool, we've done that. That took us this, that cost that much. Let's do the next one. Let's do the next one. A lot of IT providers are starting to catch up with it and jump on it, which is great as well. So that's really good. In terms of like finding an IT provider though, there's kind of three types. There's the very traditional ones, very server network focused. They'll try and sell you phones, they'll try and sell you websites, they'll try and sell you everything. Then you've got the very professional services, but they're very expensive. Those guys are really good at what they do, but they don't need the money necessarily. And then you got the third ones, which are more like the Kaviras, which is where the more modern providers, we can really punch above our weight in terms of what we can do because of we don't have all the problems of legacy problems, but we probably wouldn't be the perfect fit for, say, 100-year-old family business that manufactures because it's just going to be a bunch of junk. And our team is not big enough to handle those kind of bigger legacy kind of clients unless we can go in and lift them real quick and create a lot of disruption to their business, which is very rare. We don't want to do that. So
because they'll need a phase approach. They can't just go, just jump to the end state, just like pull everything down to a hard cut over.
Sometimes it happens, you get like a son's inherited the business, he's already been doing some work, maybe he's moved their core application, like ERP system or something to SaaS, and it's just like now it's just tidying up the on-prem mail server and getting rid of this and that, and maybe replacing a few things here and there. We're great for that, but like the full digital transformation, we just don't have the resources.
Yeah. And then go back to the Essential 8. Correct me if I'm wrong. The way my vibe on it, I'm not me on this at all. It seems to be designed for like larger enterprise. Like this is like you should do this if you're like I don't know 100,000+ people. You got lots of Microsoft computers, right? If you're a small little shop, like do some things, but that's not your silver bullet, right? To make you secure.
Well, the level one's super achievable. The only thing that's challenging is application management. And again, it's super achievable within a Microsoft Business Premium license, which is what most small businesses should be using. But again, does your IT provider understand 𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀, which is the Microsoft application whitelisting tool? No. If they don't, then they need Threat Locker. So now you're going to pay an extra $10 or $12 a month for that license, and then that MSP needs to be good in that license, good in that particular product. So the essentially is super achievable in Microsoft at a small business level. Just the only thing that some people struggle with is application whitelisting. If they get Microsoft Business Premium, it's doable within a day.
Oh wow, okay. Wow, okay. Because then
with the right IT provider.
It's okay. Yeah, cool. Because
turning macros off is a policy. Patching is Intune using Patch by PC, which the IT provider should be using. It's the premier product of the market. There's a couple smaller ones that are out there, but it's like $400 a month for that IT provider to roll it out across like 1,000 users. So it's negligible.
Yep.
And 𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀 is doable. You just set up the App Store, but again, you need to understand Intune well. You need to understand all these things well, Defender and Titan all.
Yeah.
Which
when you're mentioning cost there, like this doesn't seem like cost prohibitive, because when you think cyber, you think like, oh, this is gonna be a huge line item, but like obviously you can get expensive, right? But like doing the basics sounds like you could find the money elsewhere pretty quick, right? I don't know, even cancel your own Netflix membership for your home, and then your business will be like way more secure if you just put that $30 a month into something else, right?
Well, it's $30 a month plus the IT fee, which can range, bottom dollar cheap guys that do deliver very little, $75 a user. The highest I heard was $350, which is out of this world.
Is that a month?
Per user per month.
Yep.
And that's still on. I think that included the licenses, but the infrastructure cost was on top, which is insane. But again, that middle tier of IT provider, it's like very comfortable, doing well, got a good team. They don't need a huge amount of more customers. They just need the right customer.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you come to them like, we're fully immature, they're going to be like, yeah, that's a $12,000 project, and $200 a user a month. So you've got the cost of the licensing, the cost of the per user per month management support fee, and then probably some projects in there as well. Then they're always going to try and upsell you to different products as well. So it's, again, being aware as a buyer. Like, I have a Microsoft tooling set here, Business Premium. It covers 80 to 90% of my bases, depending on my maturity and size. Obviously, you can always add more, but I would argue instead of adding like a 24/7 MDR in there, I would add and spend that maybe $2,000 a year that you spend on that first. I would spend it on some governance documents.
Mm-hmm.
What's our incident response plan? What's our business continuity and disaster recovery plan? What's our AI and cyber policy for our HR documents? Those things are far more valuable in that first 12 months. And then you've spent your $2,000. Next year, allocate that $2,000 budget to an EDR and MDR to beef up your Microsoft Defender for endpoint. But you don't need it.
Did you find that
necessarily.
documentation is lacking in most? Because I'd hazard to guess people don't really.
I don't know a single IT provider that provides that.
Oh wow, that seems like an easy upsell. Right, if I was running a business, right? Like
It's hard, right? It's not a technical configuration. It's like I have to sit down with the client and understand their business and their processes, craft the document. Obviously, AI makes it a lot easier, but still. And again, there's varying levels of quality as well. It's like you can spin one up in ChatGPT. It probably wouldn't hold up in court, which is where you're going to end up if something goes wrong anyway. But you want to engage like Michael from our team, or there are a bunch of smaller guys getting around. There are templates on the government websites too.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to, again, that following that maturity arc, it's like, cool, we'll just get some templates, we'll put it in place, we'll educate the staff. Great. We've done something. Next year, we've grown the business, we've got an extra XYZ, we spend this on marketing, this on that. Now we've got a little bit here, we'll improve that document. And the same with at the start, you're like, cool, we'll just get the sole trader IT guy, he'll set up our laptops, he'll enroll them in Intune, but he probably doesn't have the skills to do proper policies and patching. Cool, that's good enough for now. It's been 4 or 5 years. We've got 30 staff. We've got some real good customers. We've got a brand out there. People know who we are. We need to protect that as our asset. Maybe we need to go to the 5 or 10 person IT provider and start paying $125 a user instead of ad hoc. We start double checking that our IT provider is doing things in Microsoft, asking them for proof. Whereas the other guys, the smaller guys or the sole trader guys, they don't have the capability to build a nice report and come to you because they're trying to manage a million things at once. And then as you mature, you start getting bigger and bigger. Maybe you break off the IT and the cyber and get a bespoke cyber provider again, which will be cheap compared to a cyber CX. And lo and behold, you get to 10,000 staff. Well, now you're going to need the cyber CX and you're going to need your own team, and then you're going to need this.
As we're winding up the last, I've got 2 questions. One's a proper question. The second, the last one. They're on that theme. Like, you're speaking about what people should do, the bits and bobs, and the cyber maturity. But what should I look for in a provider, or anyone? Like, as you said, it's somewhat like unregulated, right? Should I look for that they've got particular search qualifications? There's not really licensing. Even testimonials.
I always focus on the solution. So if it's all about features and benefits, it's kind of an old school software. Well, it's like they're selling a service, not necessarily a product. Everyone's trying to productize their business. So focusing on like what they're doing ties into what is best practice in the industry, and then if you don't know what that is, they should be explaining that to you. The Essential 8 is this framework. These are the 8 controls. This is how they relate to what Microsoft does if you're a Microsoft business. So understanding that, but then also how are they positioning what they do? Like, is it very focused on support and management? Are they talking and asking you questions about security? Are they asking you about your business and where you want to go? Or are they just trying to fit you in the same lump thing that everyone fits in this thing and they all get charged the same? So to summarize, I guess, is focus on where they want to take you. So is it, we want to take you to this, which is spend per month, or is it Essential 8 or cyber cert? If you don't know what those are, like, ask them, hey, we've heard about this cyber cert, can you tell us about it? And if they say it's bullshit or they don't know what it is, well, that's probably a red flag right away. Essential 8, If they say, yep, we think 𝙀𝙤𝙙𝙀𝙗𝙀 good, but there's gaps, they're probably on par right there. How are you going to do it? Oh, we're going to use Microsoft. What parts of Microsoft? These tools here, great, already good. But if they're like, yeah, we're just, we're going to do it there, and we'll get you there, and all these kind of things, it's like, well, no, I want that in my scope. I want a scoping document. How many IT providers provide scoping documents? Because it's a legally binding document to say, I will deliver this outcome. And if they don't, you get a review in a year from a million hungry IT providers that will do reviews for you. And it's not hit, then they're in breach of contract. They haven't delivered what you asked for.
Yep.
Which leads to the second or third point. Get a contract. Everything they say they're going to do should be written in the contract, and it should align to the outcome that you're searching for, which is at a baseline essential A, cyber cert, maybe gold, or I haven't looked at the thing, they keep changing it, but silver or whatever. Whatever desire you want to get to, like benchmark your contracts to that, hold them accountable to those contracts. If you can't figure out how to hold them accountable, engage a third-party IT provider or cybersecurity provider like Kavira or any number of guys that are out there doing these kind of assessments to say, okay, I'll look at your environment, I'll be impartial, and I'll do an assessment and see if they've actually delivered on what you need. That's the simple way of doing it. There's obviously more complex ways. Not every business is the same. So if I was in engineering or architecture, there's a very strong need for on-prem infrastructure. Design is a similar one. So now you've got a more complex or challenging solution because, one guy will quote 150 grand for a server. The next guy will quote 100 grand, but he sells 20 of them a year, so he gets a better price. So now you're having to really juggle like who's telling the truth, what's going on, why they're telling you the truth, understanding that minutia of like how people quote and design solutions or infrastructure or Azure or data centers is very different to like a 20-person business using zero practice manager to do accounting. It's a very different business.
So if I
So
heard
it's a
you,
very long-winded answer.
no, that's a good answer. No, that's very educational. Because if I dumb it down for myself, it sounds like you should be looking for someone that's trying to put you get a list of outcomes versus this tier for $10 gives you this, and then 20. If they're trying to shove you in a tier, that's probably a red flag. So if they get a list of outcomes that you agree to, then get those outcomes in writing, and at least you'll be starting somewhere. You both have an understanding of what you're trying to get to, and if they don't meet it, whatever, that's a problem for tomorrow. But at least you're clear on what you're asking for. It's written down. You both accept. That makes perfect sense. Seems like the simple stuff is the most obvious stuff in hindsight, right? Yeah, like what are you agreeing to? Like my house is going to meet these architectural drawings. It's like, why is my roof blue and ours are red, right? That's what's not in the contract, that type of stuff. And the last cheeky question, because I did watch all the podcasts I could find on you to prep. Is it harder to convince companies to spend money on their cyber capabilities or sell custom ski boots?
It's a lot easier to sell ski boots. No, cyber's an IT are not priorities for a lot of businesses until it is. So
Yep.
our cyber governance side of the business does really well because people want to win work, and they can't win work till they have a certification like ISO.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the IT side just drags on and on and on and on. They'll walk into their office, metaphorically speaking, over broken glass, then change IT provider. It has to get to the point where, it has to get so bad before they'll even consider a change just because they hate it so much. Whereas cyber, it's like, we've been breached, we want more money. It's a pretty simple motivation.
Yeah. It seems to tie back to what you said earlier. Like if you do those reviews, you set it for yourself. Like we're going to review our provider every year and check out against our contract, get someone to come in and have a look. If you just have that as normal BAU, that's the habit you actually want to have, not the habit of keeping my provider just because it's easier to keep them than to find someone else. That's all the questions I had down on my list. So unless you want to add anything, otherwise, where can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Kavira.com.au, Kavira. You want to learn more, not necessarily about us, but just like the things we're talking about, like how do you get an IT provider? What's the checklist you need? All that. Look up Almost IT Heroes on LinkedIn, or we've got a website, .com.au. Essentially, it's a support group for people, owners, COOs, CFOs to get good cyber security programs find an IT provider, what to ask them, how to hold their existing provider accountable. We also have, we'll be bringing in subject matter experts like CISOs that have run cyber programs at banks, SMBs. We've got people that technology procurement specialists, those kind of things. So we're just trying to give people the power that they, or the power and knowledge they need to make informed decisions and try and make our industry a bit better, which at the moment I think there's a lot of area for improvement from how people sell their services and deliver their services.
Thank you, Billy. I really appreciate your time. People couldn't see before. We had to pause a late start taking a business call from a customer. So the most important thing, obviously, keeps the wheels turning. So I appreciate your time talking to me today.